Hi guys, today I'm going to be talking to you about one of my favorite people in the world and one of my favorite bands in the world, Mr. Kurt Donald Cobain and the band Nirvana. I've got, these all look the same but they're not. There's like 50 year, Kurt at 50, the 25-year anniversary one, and then there's one Kurt 20 years later. So I get these whenever I find them. I also have the box set that was posthumously released. I hate that word. I have that. I could not find it. I looked everywhere. I have hid it from myself because it's so special. It was one of my last gifts from my dad for Christmas, so I have hid it from myself. But I also have the journals, and I'll be talking about the Kurt's journals. But if you're a Kurt fan and you've never read the journals, you can go on eBay and find like a used copy of these. I think I paid $10 for this thing, and it is amazing. It's got so much stuff in here. It's awesome to read. It's awesome to read. He's got like sketches of like t-shirts and just all kinds of, his drawings that he did. This is one of my inspirations for my seahorse tattoo, but like just really awesome. So if you haven't ever read the journals and you're a big fan, you may want to do that. So I thought I would go over some history about Kurt and the band. I'm going to leave out the heroin abuse as much as possible because that's not who he was. Yeah, drugs affected his life, blah, 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 but I'm not going to, harp on the heroin part of his life. I'm just not. I might mention it a couple times where it's important, but if you wonder why, does she not realize that he was a raging heroin addict? Yeah, I realize that, but it's not who he was. So remember that. So he grew up, of course, in Aberdeen, Washington, which is like a dreary logging town. Very small, like one bar little town, real dreary. The weather there's dreary and cold and clammy and wet anyway. That's why a lot of music comes out of Washington, especially Seattle, because of the weather. They don't have anything to do but stay inside and write music and do art and stuff. So his father, Donald, was a mechanic. His mother, Wendy, was a homemaker. His little sister, Kim, was always there with him, growing up. And he had a pretty happy childhood. But they divorced when he was young. I think he was 8. Yeah, he was 8 when they divorced. And he went into, his depression started, which I think deep down that he always had sort of a, when you're young and you're a kid, your mental illness doesn't really come out until something triggers it, and then it kind of snowballs, and then that's one reason you self-medicate with drugs and other things to try to make yourself feel better. And he also had stomach pains as a child growing up, and those got worse as he got older, so he kind of grew into this teenager who was just really angsty and didn't fit in. His best friend was gay, and so people thought he was gay, and people would pick on him. They would bully him and treat him badly in high school. He played sports as a freshman because his dad kind of forced him into it. He didn't really want to, but then he quit sports. Of course, he was not the athletic type at all. He was the artsy, awesome guy, not the athletic guy. Actually, he has had music in his family his whole life. His uncle was in a band. His Aunt Marie Earl played the guitar like around the world, around the country with different bands. One of his great uncles was actually an Irish tenor, so it's really interesting. Music was in his blood. He loved art. He would always paint and draw. He would sing. At age of 4, he started singing and doing piano and drums and stuff. His inspirations for music, we know he loved the Beatles. If you listen to the song About a Girl, you can hear the beat of like a Beatles pop beat in the background. Just listen to About a Girl when you finish watching me. go listen to that song and you'll be like, oh my God, it is. It's totally like a Beatles pop rhythm. It's awesome. Every song is awesome, but that one's pretty cool. I love About a Girl. So, he also was inspired by the Monkees and like not Van Halen, y'all, I'm losing my mind. Stairway to Heaven, by Led Zeppelin, and Terry Jack. He loved Season in the Sun. He loved Lead Belly. He loved all genres of music within a certain genre, like older music. I mean, he was all about music. So after the divorce, he lived with his dad mainly. He would visit his mom on the weekends, and his mom was dating different guys, and then he witnessed her be abused on several occasions, and that inspired him to write Polly. So if you listen to the lyrics of Polly, no, it's not about a bird. It's an anti-rape song. It's a pro-feminist song about women being abused. Listen to the lyrics next time you listen to Nirvana. It's powerful. It's lyrical poetry. It's not just music, you know. You have a lot of bands out there that it's just, you know, their lyrics are their lyrics, but Nirvana is deep. Kurt's lyrics are deep. Let's see. He finally decides he doesn't want to live with anybody. So he's kind of bouncing around. He would sleep under a bridge at times. When he was 14, his Uncle Chuck bought him his first guitar. It was a used electric guitar, and Lord of mercy, there a star was born. He listened to the Beatles over and over and over, and other groups too, but he loved the Beatles so much, but he listened to music and taught himself how to play. And then he developed his own style, which if you've ever heard Nirvana at all, you know it's that choppy, grungy just sound, you know, that is unlike anything you'll ever hear. I get so eclipsed. Sorry, guys. Okay, so let's see. I took a few notes just so I would get kind of where. So when he was still in high school, he records his first song at his Aunt Marie's house, and his first band was called Fecal Matter. It's so gross, but it was, and recorded his first song there when he was still in high school. Then he starts hanging out in Olympia, seeing concerts, like immersing himself in the grunge scene and the punk scene, and really just taking it in and absorbing it and seeing what he wants to do. And then he meets the Melvins. So Buzz Osborne, who's the leader of the Melvins, gave him all this advice on how to set up a show, how to plan a show, how to, you know, write lyrics, how important it is to practice. Just, he handed him down all of this knowledge about how to be a rock star. So Kurt took all of that to heart, and a lot of that is in here. It's in here, like how he would plan. He wrote in here like a couple times, practice, and like practice 12 hours a day, practice until your fingers bleed, and all this stuff. So that really motivated him a ton to do what he wanted to do, because he wanted to be a rock star. And ironically, that was what drove him freaking insane at the end. So his mom kicks him out and he moves to Olympia. His mom said, get a job or get out. So he says, I don't want to work. He wasn't the type of guy to work. He wanted to do music. That was his job. That was work for him. He was practicing, he was writing, he was working. He just wasn't getting a paycheck. So she said, enough of this, either work or get out. So he leaves, moves to Olympia. He moves in with Tracy Miranda. He moves in with Tracy Miranda eventually, and he writes songs on her couch. He lives there. She has a full-time job, so he's able to get by, and he's just becoming really creative writing this music. And a lot of this music would eventually end up on the Nevermind album, which is their second album. Their first album was Bleach, and they recorded Bleach for $606.09. And they released Love Buzz prior to that, and they sold demos of that to get by as they were touring around with their little band. But that was right after he met Chris, and they had several drummers. They went through, I think, 3 or 4 drummers before they met Dave Grohl. And then once they formed, they finally had their 3 people that were going to be in their band, and they came up with some names. One was Ted Ed Fred, the other one was Skid Row, and they finally came up with Nirvana. And what Kurt said Nirvana meant to him was the achievement of perfection. Because if you look up Nirvana in the dictionary, it says like paradise and stuff like that. But he got into some Buddhism a little bit too, and that kind of came from the Buddhism, was the achievement of perfection. So I thought that was pretty cool. The attainment of perfection, sorry. But then 1988 that was when they recorded Love Buzz. They only made 1,000 copies, and they sold them all. It sold out, and that was a big turning point from them. Their popularity grew. They recorded Bleach. It was in 1989. It was 60617, not 9 cents, sorry. 60617 with Sub Pop Records. They made 35,000 copies. But then his stomach pain starts to get worse. And that's when he's introduced to heroin. Well, if you know anything about that, there's no turning back. So his heroin use goes up really high. Like, he got up to like, I think toward the end it was like $500 a day, which back then that would buy more than now, because you're talking about the early 90s. So, but the songs keep coming. He keeps writing. They're getting it. They're getting more and more and more popular. He gets annoyed with Sub Pop Records. He gets annoyed that he doesn't think they have the resources to get him where they want to go. So they go to Madison, Wisconsin. They're touring up there. So they decide to stop by there and visit a guy named Butch Vig at Smart Studios. And then they record those songs. And they record Nevermind. And then once that goes, it's over from there. It's over from there. They land a new management firm, Gold Mountain Entertainment, and that's the major record label with David Geffen with DGC, and they make they give him an advance of $287,000. And that was a lot of money to them, because they're, living on couches, living in vans, living in cars, living in grungy apartments. So then in 1990, he meets Courtney. I have mixed emotions about that. I do love Hole, but, the whole conspiracy theory thing, I used to be into that until I kind of changed my mind about the suicide, and I think he probably did it. I think he did. Just certain things happened in my life that made me change my mind about that one. So, yeah. But anyway, he did have other girlfriends, not just Courtney. They always know just Courtney, but Tracy Miranda deserves a lot of credit. He wrote a lot of that music that we love, hanging out in her apartment while she was at work. So Tracy, we do love you. He also dated Toby Vale, the drummer of Bikini Kill, and now there's this new chick named Mary Lou Lord, who is like coming out and telling all these stories about Kurt that like when she dated him 25 years ago and all this. So it's kind of cool. And of course you know that smells like Teen Spirit used to be a deodorant back in the 90s. I used to wear it. I remember putting it on in gym class. It smelled so good. I don't know why they ever discontinued it, but that was the deodorant that Toby Vale wore, and he named that song after that deodorant. So that's kind of hilarious. So then in April 1991, they toured in Sydney. No, that's not right. They toured in Europe with Sonic Youth, and that was a big tour, and that really got them blowing up because people were hearing those songs from the Nevermind album. And everything was so pro-femme and pro-LGBTQ. It was just It was huge. It was so huge. But see, when people listen to the lyrics of the songs, just like Polly, they don't realize that they're that they're pro-femme and pro-gay. They don't realize that. They just think, oh yeah, this is rock. But they don't realize how deep it is. It's ironic because the bullies that used to pick on him for being gay in high school are the ones at his concerts jamming out to the song about, jamming out to any song of his, it's got some reference to something in his life that they probably caused, and they're jamming out to it. It's just so ironic to me. Stupid bullies. I'll kick their ass. Okay, in October, it goes gold. And then in November, they do a 6-week Europe tour. And then that Christmas in 1991, everybody got CDs for Christmas because CDs used to be big. You guys don't know tapes and CDs. We used to listen to those. There are things called tapes and CDs from Gen X to you. They took what they got for Christmas that year and they went and they traded it for the new Nirvana album, for Nevermind. They went and they exchanged it. So that's hilarious to me. That is hilarious. They wanted the Nirvana album. They didn't want what their parent bought for them or whoever. So that's awesome. We all know that Kurt didn't like the fame. The more he blew up, the worse he got. And then, the more everything increased with him. His mental health went way down because he didn't want to be famous. He got pissed off. He said, I have a request for our fans. If any of you hate people of color, women, gays, please do us this one favor. Do not come to our shows and do not buy our records. Because he was beginning to realize that people didn't get him and they didn't get his lyrics. And they just had no clue what they were listening to. And he realized that. And that really bothered him. It drove him crazy, I bet. So then Courtney gets pregnant. They get married in Hawaii. He wears green pajamas because he's Kurt. He's going to wear green pajamas to his wedding while she's got on this wedding dress. The pictures are hilarious. If you can find any, they're really hard to find, but if you can find any. In March of 92, he changes the royalty distribution in the band. This is when he got a little bit selfish. Bad Kurt. He got a little selfish and he wanted 75% of all royalties, even predating everything back to Nevermind. He wanted 75% because he was the front man and because he wrote the lyrics and everything. And that kind of made Chris and Dave upset. But they stayed with him. They didn't want to break up, which is good, even though they only had a couple of years, 2 years left to go. But they didn't know that was coming. On April of 92, they're on the cover of Rolling Stone. I used to have that magazine and somebody stole it. If you stole my damn magazine, you better give it back. Because if I find out who you are, I'm going to beat the crap out of you. Because you cannot find those now. Okay, in August of 92, Frances Bean was born. We love you, Frances Bean. Beautiful, beautiful woman. You look like your daddy. Yes, you do. You look like your mama too, but you look like your daddy. And then, right after she was born, there were the rumors of the heroin use that Courtney had gone back to heroin too. So CPS actually removed Frances Bean away from their family for 2 weeks, and they had to battle and pay a lot of money to get her back. And that's just ridiculous because they were good parents. They were used to doing drugs. They had high tolerances. They weren't falling asleep and you could tell she was a healthy baby. I mean, there's the picture with Courtney with the bottle. They're feeding her. She was chubby. Obviously, she was well taken care of. I mean, they could have afforded a nanny or help. It wasn't like, not that I condone drug-using parents. I just don't think that she should have been taken away. Then you have the UK Reading Festival, where it's hilarious, where he comes out in the wheelchair, and he's got on that stupid-looking wig. And then that white smock, like he's in a hospital. Like he's dead, he's slouched over, and somebody wheels him out in the wheelchair, and then he gets up, he rips off the costume, and they jam. They start jamming into the song Breed, and it's awesome. That Reading Festival, I wish I could have been there. I was not that old back then, but I was old enough that I could have gone. Then later that year, they won 2 MTV VMAs, the Best New Artist, and Best New Alt Video. Awesome, yes, and that video, of course, it Smells Like Teen Spirit. It's kind of played out a little bit now for big Nirvana fans. We like the other stuff more, but it's what really got them on the map was that Smells Like Teen Spirit video. It was different from anything that had been played before. It was just so different. It wasn't the big hairband rock glamour video. It was like, you know, the Anarchy cheerleaders. I actually had a costume that I made myself that looks like those, and I wore it for Halloween one year, and so few people recognized what I was wearing. It really pissed me off, because how do you not know what that costume is? So it made me feel a little bit old too. But I think it was just because they were stupid or drunk. Okay, and then in 1992, they also had Insecticide come out, which went gold. After that, they went and they had some money, so they went out and they bought a Lexus. And then 2 days later, they take it back because they don't want to be viewed as someone who drives a Lexus. Next, we've got in 1993, he did have a big OD. He ended up having to go into the hospital. And then In Utero came out. 12 days. It took 12 days, and then they refused to release it. Walmart refused to release it because of the song Rape Me was on it. They made them change the name to something else. But that one sold 5 million in the US and 15 million worldwide. So many records, so many CDs. Then they did Unplugged. Unplugged is the most beautiful, beautiful hour and so that you can ever sit there and listen to. It is one of my favorite things to listen to in the shower, if I'm stressed, if I'm not stressed, if I'm in the car. Oh, I love it. It is the best thing. Especially when they do the Lead Belly, the Where Did You Sleep Last Night. It's just great. It's all great. So then he ODs again on Rohypnol this time, and alcohol, not even heroin. And he's rushed to the ER. And then he later goes to the rehab in LA. Then he says he's going for a walk. He's going out to have a smoke and for a walk. He jumps the fence, flies back home. They can't find him for a few days. Actually, Courtney hires a private investigator to help find him. They can't find him. Where is he? We know where he is. 27 years old. It's really sad. Really sad. But, I'm not going to talk about the death a lot, but it was April 5th, 94. I was very young. But it really hurt me. So he left $110 million with no will. That was his worth. $110 million with no will at all. So he has no will. What are they going to do with the money? So they split it up between Courtney and Frances being 50-50. They had to actually make her go undergo a psych exam because she was so hysterical and because of the heroin or whatever. But there's just a lot of information. I've even got some stuff about posthumously. I guess that's how you say that word, posthumously. You can go to Kurt Cobain Landing, which is somewhere that I'm probably going to go within the next year. The small banks of Wishka. There's a river under the Young Street Bridge. It was erected after his death. The bridge has always been there, but they erected Kurt Cobain Landing after his death. The fans gather there. That was the bridge he used to sleep under when he would get in a fight with his mom. He would go under there and pass out with a bottle of whiskey or something. There's a bench with engravings there. There's a monument of a guitar, it's a huge guitar. You got to look it up. It was dedicated in 2011. It's huge, on April 5th, 11, of course. And then they say that was where he wrote Something in the Way. That's what they say. And there's like this lyrics are posted there too on the other side of a quote. And the quote says, "I'd rather be hated for who I am." Sorry. "I'd rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I am not." My name is Kurt. I sing, play the guitar, and I am a walking, talking bacterial infection. So that's him in a nutshell. But seriously, guys, if you have not bought this and you are a super fan like me, you have got to check it out. Unfortunately, it does have the suicide note in it. Actually, I don't think this does. The suicide note is in one of these. But you can find it online. You can look up the suicide note. These are awesome. If you can find these, any of them, get them. Get a hold of them. They're just gonna be always something that you can look up. You can look in and read. But check them out. But the suicide note reads, it's just crazy. Like my dad's suicide note was like 2 sentences. His is like a full page of his tiny, tiny little scribbly handwriting. And it's like the handwriting changes. It looks like one person wrote one sentence and then another person wrote another. My books keep falling off, sorry. I set them on the floor. But anyway, you know, it's really sad when we lose someone. But their music lives on. It lives on. It does. And I promise the next time I do another band, I'm going to try to do this once a week. I won't be this emotional because I don't really care as much. And the suicide affects me because my dad, because I lost him to suicide too. So that's why I get so emotional. But I do want you to see my shirt before I go. You can see, I got this off of, I don't even remember where I got it. I just got it and like went crazy. But you can see it's got all different pictures. It's got all of them. I've even got a green sweater. Let me show you the back without bending over and putting my butt in your face. Sorry. But like, he was just wonderful. And the band was wonderful. And the lyrics were wonderful. And if you're not a Nirvana fan and you've never checked out the music, go for it. Get some of that, you know, take your time and look it up on YouTube. Look it up on whatever you look music up on. But YouTube is best because you can see him. But that's all I have, guys. But remember, rock on, baby. Bye, guys.